Hey, welcome back to yet another sketchbook video. I didn't know what I really wanted to do for this one, and feeling as rusty as I have been because I've hardly been able to draw. I started out just drawing on one of my clipboards that I keep in my bedroom. It's got my long paper on it. It's like 8.5 by 14 or whatever. So, yeah, I just started out drawing. I almost thought of just doing some like normal sketching or something and just recording that, but I wasn't very satisfied with it, and in fact I think I started over twice, so yeah. Well, I ended up just drawing one that I decided I could just make a sketchbook page out of, and I went with that. And I don't think it was entirely successful. It, I don't know, wasn't great, but we'll see the theme here in a minute. Yeah, I felt very weird, very rusty trying to sketch. It's kind of annoying to get that way when you've drawn a lot and reached like a specific point for a while where you didn't have to think as much, or your hand just made lines that you preferred. So yeah, then you get to this part and you're struggling and the shapes that you make aren't quite right and they're not fast enough. I don't know how to explain that aside from, I guess, in that simple way, but yeah, it's very annoying. I'm not really somebody who gets what you call art block, I guess. And maybe there's just different forms for different people. All I really get is rusty, and I always want to draw, and I always have things, like I have ideas about drawing, and maybe that's because I've done it for a long time and I worked through a lot of things even when it was difficult. So I can always kind of push through that. What I don't always have is the ability to imagine something that I want to make very clearly. And occasionally that's a good thing. And then there are times when it feels like it kind of holds me back. And I stopped getting that connection where I can imagine something and then kind of get an idea of what it's gonna look like when I make it and how to make it that way. Like what tools I'll use, what shapes I'll use. If I want to slightly change something even in my thumbnail without actually adjusting it, I just adjust it in my head or adjust it in the finished picture. Well, I kind of lose that ability when I can't draw a lot. So I end up feeling kind of at a loss. And I do just consider that rust, so yep. So here we are into the sketchbook. You can see I haven't been able to actually sketch in this one since the last page. I have drawn just a little bit here and there on my boards, just loose leaf paper, but that has been it, unfortunately. So this one was kind of based around a nightmare that I had. I am somebody who has a lot of bad dreams. I always have. And I don't know. Sometimes they are uncomfortable, but I'm so used to them that it just seems like having any other dream. You know, something wild happens and it's like, meh, okay. But yeah, I was having this weird dream and I was walking through the dark, and the dark doesn't really bother me, but when I was a kid it did. And I was thinking, I don't know, that there was just something that felt off, like the wind was blowing but I couldn't hear anything. And suddenly I'm walking through this puddle and it turns me upside down. And it's like I'm stepping through a mirror. And I've had dreams like this before that give me, like weird, I don't know, topsy-turvy vertigo kinds of things. So I'm walking through, get flipped, and I'm in this graveyard in the woods. And first it's snowing and it's cold and I can see my breath, and I start seeing these ice crystals, kind of, like the way it is when you see a snowflake up close, and they're hanging off of trees like ornaments or something. And every time I'm really catching one, instead of seeing myself, which I rarely ever have dreams with me in them, I'm usually just somebody else or following somebody, I'm seeing this like creature thing, and it doesn't really scare me. I just feel like it's off. Like, it is there and I just can't see it, and yeah, I probably don't want to come face to face with it, so I just keep walking. And then it starts to rain, and I start feeling cold, like completely soaked through. And I hear somebody, I don't know, like whimpering, which honestly could have been me because I do whimper in my sleep apparently. So yeah, I am hearing this person, and I can see leaves and stuff now, whereas before, it was definitely winter time and there was no leaves on the trees. And I start being able to hear the rain, which I couldn't hear before. And I look up, and there's this guy backed up into a headstone, and he was holding on to this necklace. It was something that I have. I think I broke the cord that held it, but I used to wear it all the time when I was younger, and it's a stone, and it's got a couple kanji carved into it, just the elements, I believe. And yeah, I used to wear that all the time, but it didn't have the stone on it, but I just knew it was that one. And like everything that was dripping off of his chin and stuff was those really small snowflake things, the little crystal ones that I was seeing before, and he was looking into them, and it was the creature thing that I saw, and it was kind of like switching from his face to it, and I was like, thinking that was weird. Like, was he afraid of himself, or was it, trying to get him or something? And I realized that he was getting like pulled back into this headstone, and like for a second I was actually scared that he was getting pulled underground, so I was trying to like go to him I guess, to pull him out or something, and it just kept pulling him back into the stone, and I was afraid this is gonna sound gross, but I was afraid that like it was gonna crunch his bones or something. So yeah, and I couldn't reach him, and just when I was going to, I ended up stepping in a puddle, and I got like that flipped upside down feeling. Sometimes when I wake up I get vertigo, and I think that's kind of what made me wake up having horrible vertigo. But yeah, it was a really weird dream, and I like couldn't stop thinking about the expression that he had. Like, I don't know, it made my chest feel kind of tight, like I was worried and I wasn't gonna be able to do anything. And I'm sure some of this has to do with the fact that one of the cows that we looked after got taken out by a wolf recently, and it was really sad, and we ended up finding it pretty much right after it happened. And won't go into detail because I know that, there's people out there who can't really handle that kind of thing. I don't want to go out and surprise people or have to put in, I don't know, some sort of warning. But it kind of sucked, so, and Yeah, so just like that helpless feeling of, something happening and you can't get there in time to do anything about it, maybe. No reason to really go into it. I have a lot of bad dreams. It's just the way that it is, and it's not really like I don't feel bad about it or need anyone to feel bad about it. It just is what it is. I carry a lot of like anxiety, so you know. But that was the whole reason I ended up drawing this. Originally I wanted to draw someone bent forward facing the camera, and I wanted their back to be at an angle originally. And I wanted like their spine to be growing spikes and pushing up through the skin. And instead of that, because I tried to draw it a couple times and it looked like trash in comparison to what I wanted, which was what I was saying in the beginning, that sometimes that's like really good for a picture because you can figure out how to execute it, and sometimes it's bad for a picture because you can, imagine something a little too clearly, and in the moment maybe you don't have the skills or are not warmed up enough to actually make it happen. But yeah, I tried a few times, and I just kept incorporating some sort of gravestone. I guess when I was a kid, I was kind of obsessed with them, not in a weird way. I just found something very sentimental about them. We had like tons of older folks that we lived around, so I was like nearly every year, there's someone who's passed away or whatever, so in a way I think I kind of like pushed on the way I felt about the person to a gravestone. I guess, I don't know. But yeah, so I was continuing to draw that over and over again, and it was making me think of that dream. I don't remember the full beginning of it because I know I dreamt more before that was like uncomfortable, and I was trying to get away from something and like going through a lot of different places, maybe. I don't know, I can't remember, but it was weird. But that part really stuck with me since it happened just before I woke up, and usually if I do wake up I don't go back to sleep for a really long time or at all. So yeah, I was just thinking about it for a while. And then there was parts of it I was like, man, that would be cool to incorporate into something, and then other parts were, I don't know, kind of left me baffled. So yeah, there's my weird spiel about my dream. I have loads of them, but some of them are a little too creepy to actually, talk about in a public setting, because I just feel like, I don't know, it's kind of like watching a horror movie where, it's not everyone's cup of tea. And I personally love horror movies and thrillers, but I didn't when I was really small, but I definitely dig them, so I understand that there are people who do not want to hear that stuff or be surprised by it. So even though I feel like this drawing was kind of garbagey, I mean, I don't know. I probably shouldn't be too hard on it. It's not like I completely and totally dislike it, but I could... Yeah, when I look at it, I just feel that rusty feeling, like everything that I was doing had a big question mark over the top of it the whole time. I could never do anything with any sort of surety, and that's really frustrating because I love just feeling that, like, auto mode. You're totally up for making mistakes and seeing what you can turn them into, which is something I really like about pen drawing. But instead of that, I just felt concerned and unsure, and yeah, I kept trying, and I still think I gave up a little too early, but it's okay. I didn't have any more time. My family had to go shopping, but then one of my sisters that sells the sourdough was down, and she went to the farmer's market, so I only had a little bit while she was there, and as I mentioned, I had started the video over a couple times, so I was already kind of wasting time and could hardly get myself started for some reason, which was even more annoying because I do not like procrastinating. I just like to handle things so that they can be done. Then I ended up using my gray Pentel Pocket brush pen. I really like watching it go down. It's like really, really wet and then drying to that nice gray color. And then instead of doing an ink wash, I just went ahead and used my Tombows for this one because, yeah, it was gonna take a lot longer if I pulled out my ink wash. And I was pretty sure I was gonna have to mix some more. And I am always struggling with opening that freaking bottle because it sticks so bad. And I clean it nearly every time I open it, but somehow it still gets ink on it, so yeah, and it just sticks down, which is frustrating. But yeah, weird times, weird dreams. I think that's probably why I end up putting in a lot of dream snippets whenever I actually write stories. Like the one with Rust has a lot to do with his dreams as omens and things. So, yep, I'm sure that's a big part of it. Yep, definitely something I have struggled with in my life and then kind of started to ignore a little bit. Not to say that, you know, one doesn't come along every now and again, like I said, and make me a little uncomfortable. You know, when you wake up and you're too scared to move or something. But lucky for me, I've only had sleep paralysis like a couple times in my life. And it's not the type that everyone talks about, so maybe it's a lesser form of it, but once I realized what it was, I was pretty much like, oh, okay, I don't care anymore. That's fine. At least the next time it happens, I'll know, and I can move on with my life. Definitely don't want to be just like laying in bed for hours, not sleeping, and also panicking or something. So it's really nice to just be able to blow it off and then you can, you know, think about something else. Which I usually do. Like, because I've had insomnia the entirety of my life, I used to make sure, you know, I didn't stay up late, I didn't look at a device, I tried like kind of everything to, you know, ease it, but I honestly think the root of it's probably my horrible anxiety and the fact that I get stressed easily. So yeah, I don't allow myself to look at the time because it creates a weird habit, and then I'll start waking up at the same time every single night or every morning, which is very annoying. So yeah, I usually just lay down and I'll like think about stories or, you know, anything that isn't too involved so that I'm not keeping myself awake thinking about something that my brain will latch onto. I'm sure there's other people out there who don't sleep that do the same thing. Like, I'm not someone who daydreams about myself. Like, same with not really being in my own dreams. Like, I very rarely dream about myself. Even if I'm dreaming about my family, I'll almost always be somebody else. Weird fact, but you know, there it is. Here's me once again incorporating red because I have a problem. I used to have a dark blue one, and I think a green one, and I ended up using them up, of these Prismacolor Scholars, because my mom and sister picked them up. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. They picked one up, a little pack, and yeah. I was pretty stoked because, you know, where we live, it's not like you can just get art supplies anywhere. You know, mostly office supplies. So when they found those, I was like, first of all, you know, really appreciative of someone thinking of you when they see something like that, and also the fact that they actually got them for me, I really appreciate it. So then I started using them kind of all the time to just add like accent colors to things, because that's been a thing for me for a very long time. Sorry that I am a little bit hoarse. I've actually been sitting not talking for a really long time today. So this is where I start adding the rain, and I almost forgot it, even though it was like the whole thing. And I kind of regret not putting one of those like weird snowflake crystal things, but if I could have made it the way I was imagining it properly and not kind of chickened out and done a more simple picture, I feel like it would have been kind of cool. I also had a feeling that I should have actually done thinner lines for him, but I knew that I would go a lot faster if I just used my brush pen, my Fudenosuke brush pen, the zebra one, because it does help because I can do more line variation in the moment, even though I still, again, was feeling a little unsure, so I didn't have that full control of my hand. But I got through it. My brother is, I've said before that he has a YouTube channel, and he was doing a video game thing, and he had my sister and I voice in the thing for some of the characters. So anyway, this is the finished picture. I hope that you guys like it. Let me know in the comments what you think. I know it's not perfect. Yeah, he ended up a little crooked. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day or night, and bye.